remember when I first was dreaming about opening a small business, I used to spend hours and hours reading the Etsy Quit Your Day Job blog series. I also used to listen to so many podcasters who would share like inspirational entrepreneurial journeys. And I remember always thinking that they had this like magic secret recipe that they'd unlocked to be able to grow the small business. Well, fast forward to 9 years time and here I am. I've managed to build up my small illustration business to 6 figures in revenue, employ my husband full-time and his brother-in-law Mike, and I have learned quite a lot along the way. For those of you who are new here, hello, I'm Catherine, owner and illustrator behind the wonderful world of Katnipp. Here, my mission is to put a smile on people's face and to build this world full of cute and colourful characters. I've actually documented my whole journey on this channel right from my small business, so you can actually go back and watch my journey throughout the years. Our business has changed a lot since 2015 and I have been gathering your guys' questions, and today I'm going to unlock some of the answers for you to hopefully show that it is not as intimidating or as scary as it seems. So let's just jump straight into it, shall we? A huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. What advice would you give yourself at the beginning of starting your business? Now, this is such a good question. The best advice I would give myself if I was just starting out from scratch today is that you don't have to have everything figured out. I feel like it gets so intimidating looking at other small business owners who have an office, who have rent, who do taxes, who file VAT returns if you're here in the UK. It just seems like, oh my gosh, I need to know all this stuff before I open a small business, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Honestly, you need to just get started and get your first customer through the door. I just started out on Facebook, like literally opened a Facebook page and sold my first ever product. That was it, and I figured it all out along the way. You don't need to know everything before you open a small business. You don't need to know how to open up a limited company, start as a self-employed sole trader. My first sale was a commission. I've actually done a full timeline of my beginning of my journey on the channel if you want to go check out that video. I sold my first commission on Facebook and it was like a friend of a friend of a friend. I didn't have a clue about taxes, about filing or anything like that. But you learn these things along the way, and I wish I knew that when I started, because when I started I used to get so overwhelmed and I kept putting it off and thinking I'm not ready, because I thought that I had to be ready and have all this knowledge before I even started. But most business owners will tell you that they learn this knowledge as they went. You literally learn it as you go. You run up into problems and you get to the next stage of your business and then you figure it out then. Google is your friend, or Google is my friend. And then also you can reach out to other business owners or other people and try and ask for help and advice. And I would listen again to a lot of podcasts and inspirational stories about like how they got to the next stage of the business. So it can seem very, very overwhelming, but honestly, the truth of the matter is you just need to get started. That's my advice, and you don't need to know everything to begin with. Just sell your first product, whether it's a commission like what I did, whether it's a cute sticker, whether it's a course, I don't know, just sell the first one and then the rest will follow, and you'll learn and you'll Google and you'll literally learn it as you go. Stop holding yourself back because you feel like you need to like literally know everything, because it couldn't be further from the truth. How to plan if I want to start a business as it's overwhelming. So this kind of ties back into my last point. I now have a million different planners and calendars and all sorts of stuff, and even now I watch like entrepreneurs and like CEOs of big companies show me their calendars, and I find that so overwhelming because I am not at that stage yet. Let's say for example you're a brand new startup business and you literally haven't even opened a business yet. There's 6 things that I would advise to do. The first thing I would focus on is thinking of a brand name, logo, and getting your first social media page up. The second thing would be to share your very first post about your business. The third thing, find and develop a product. You probably already have a product in mind if you're thinking of opening a business anyway, so start and begin to develop your very, very first product. Then post and sell your first product and get that experience of selling. It can be to your mum, it can be to your dad, it can be to your uncle, auntie, cousin, it doesn't matter. Just sell your first product. Then ship your product and gather feedback, and then you rinse and repeat. When I first started my business, I honestly didn't plan anything. I didn't write to-do lists. I didn't schedule calendars. This is something that I learned along the way to what works for me, because I could give you advice about exactly how I plan my business, but honestly, the way my brain works or the way your brain works might be totally different, and you might hate using one of my productivity or planning methods. But the best thing to do if you're feeling overwhelmed, like I said back in the beginning, is find a way to plan how to develop your first product and sell it. The one thing that actually saved me in my business, and I probably started getting into this about 2 or 3 years in, was writing to-do lists. Like literally simple to-do lists, pen and paper, and a simple calendar spreadsheet. We actually sell weekly planners here at Katnipp where you can lay out your week. I just, for some reason, find pen and paper so much more handy. It was like fresh to see it, and I got to like kind of pull it out my mind onto pen and paper. And I also have now a digital version as well, so I can see it on the road and I add it straight into my calendar. But when I first started out, pen and paper, to-do list, and a weekly plan of my week was something that was invaluable to me. So say you, for example, have product you want to develop, you haven't sold a product yet. How are you going to sell that? Are you going to sell it on social media? Well, then you need some sort of social media strategy in place. So maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday are your social media posting days, are the days that you work on that social media post. So I would get my planner out and I would literally just write in those dates so that I knew, and it didn't feel more chaotic in my brain. I had like a plan for that week, and then slowly I chipped away at it over time like that. And then I'd be like, right, I've got a deadline. I would like to release my first product and develop my first product by, I don't know, October the 31st, for example, Halloween, or like November the 2nd. That's when I want to publish my product, which means on Monday I have to develop and research. On Tuesday I'm going to post to social media, maybe a quote or show the behind the scenes of what I'm doing, my development. On Wednesday I'm going to develop that product even further and experiment. So you don't have to have any fancy systems or planners or anything in place at the beginning. A simple to-do list and a simple weekly plan will do. Let me know in the comments as well if you want me to kind of deep dive into how I plan now, because I have a bunch of different planning methods now to help keep me on track, because as your business grows, you get more and more things that get added to your calendar. But when you start out, it should be very basic and there shouldn't be loads of overwhelming information, because your goal should just be to get your first customers through the door. What are some tips you have for starting a small business? So this one's really good, but also quite broad. So as I mentioned earlier, just get started and don't be overwhelmed by the noise and looking and comparing yourself to other people who are already well established as a small business owner, because I can guarantee you they did not start like that. So stop holding yourself back. And another tip I would definitely recommend is to develop a skill. These skills come with time. I did not start with a YouTube channel. Now there's a lot of artists who actually do start with a YouTube channel as a way to market their products. I didn't. I consumed a lot of YouTube, but I did not know how to edit videos. I did not know how to film. I didn't know about camera equipment. I didn't even know about microphone equipment. I've just learned how to use this bad boy. Do you like it, by the way? I've named him Fluffy Chicken. And I am constantly learning new skills. Now, since opening my small business, I can honestly say I've developed so many different skills over time. You don't have to develop all these skills all at once. If you also don't have a product to sell and you're like, well, I don't have a product to sell, but I want to open a small business doing something, developing a skill and then monetizing said skill can be a great place to start. For me, that was illustration. I wasn't very good at it, I'm not gonna lie. My illustration style was not like what it is today, but I knew how to draw on a graphics tablet and not everyone did. So I monetized that skill and I sold a commission. And if you don't have a skill, I'm gonna do a perfect plug to Skillshare, because now you can literally develop any single skill by learning online. It's honestly a brilliant platform. I have been an advocate of Skillshare for years and years and years. I have learned lots of things on Skillshare, like camera equipment. I remember learning how to edit, also how to tell stories through vlogs, because I started getting into cinematography, into YouTube. For example, if you're anything like me and you enjoy learning about YouTube content and how to grow as a YouTuber, I like this YouTube for Beginners, How to Start and Grow Your YouTube Channel by Ali Abdaal. In fact, Ali Abdaal is one of my favorite content creators. I watch a lot of his work and he has some some brilliant classes on Skillshare. I highly recommend, as does many other content creators that I actually love and are inspired by. When you're just starting out in small business, you're kind of like a solopreneur and you have to wear a lot of trousers. Like literally, you're a marketer, you're an artist, you're a photographer. You have to learn these skills along the way. They're not something you just suddenly have. And Skillshare is absolutely brilliant because it has so many different classes on so many different topics. For example, if you're a beautiful artist or illustrator, you have a product, for example, like some stickers, but you're not that great at photography and you want to learn how to do product photography, there'll be a class on that and you can go and develop a skill on that. So if you guys want to try it out, they are giving the first 500 people to click the link in my description a free trial of Skillshare. So a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and always being a partner of this channel. Thank you very much, Skillshare. What advice would you give a new shop who doesn't know where to begin with advertising? Now, I have grown my business purely through organic advertising, organic social media reach. So what does that actually mean? It just basically means I have connected with an audience organically without putting any money into paid advertising. And in the day of social media, although it's ever rapidly changing and the algorithm can be a bit finicky now and then, it still is a great way to find customers and reach customers organically. And I think my best advice for you is when you're overwhelmed and you don't have an advertising budget and you don't know where to put your money, because that is something we're currently going through right now. We're now experimenting with like Facebook ads and they've been a big flop, by the way. And I've been in business 9 years and only up until this point have I just started trying to experiment with like paid advertising. So you definitely don't need to start like that. But my advice would be, if you find it overwhelming and you're on social media and you're like, yeah, but like I need to run a TikTok, I need to run an Instagram, I need to run a YouTube. Like you're looking at me and you can see I've got all these different platforms. Again, I did not start out with multiple different platforms. I started out with one, and that was Facebook at the time. And I joined a load of crafting groups. I started taking part in crafting group pods and sharing my page. And I would comment on 3 posts. They would comment back on my posts to help boost it on Facebook. That's how I started out. And then about 6 months, 7 months later, I started opening an Instagram, learning how to open Instagram. And then 2 years later, I began a YouTube channel. You don't have to do all social media all at once. My advice to you would be, what social media platform are you on right now that you actually organically go on all the time and enjoy being on? So when you're sat down at night and you're scrolling through your phone or whatever, what is the app that you prefer to be on the most? And then use that one. So start with that one, the one that you're on the most and you engage with the most, because you'll already have an idea of the type of posts you like to see, and you can start doing research on your target audience. And usually as small business owners, the target audience is normally ourselves. So I basically run a business making products that I would personally buy or would like to see, and that can be the case for a lot of artists or small business owners. So use the platform that you use the most. This could be Pinterest. I go on Pinterest all the time, but I haven't marketed on there yet, but you could just go on Pinterest. Find a platform that you are most naturally engaged with and then go from there. And also learn SEO. Try and rank on places like Etsy and also Google Shopping. Learning about SEO really helped me in the beginning. I started with Facebook and sharing my stuff through Facebook, and then I thought, well, I want to get organically found externally. So then I also started to learn about SEO and how I could get found organically by people typing in, I don't know, cute wedding gifts or whatever, or cute custom portraits. And I learned about SEO as well, which helped organic traffic. So I would say, open a platform that you feel comfortable with, and then also do your research about SEO and see how you can get found organically through platforms like Etsy or Google. I don't want specifics, but I would like to know how you fund your growth for expanding your product lines. So back when I started in my bedroom and I had no money, but I didn't spend one single penny. I already had a Mac that I got into debt for at uni and that I still hadn't paid off. And I remember I opened my Facebook page, sold a commission, and I didn't even have a printer. With that money from that commission, I went out and I bought the cheapest Epson printer that had decent reviews, and I printed off my first product using the commission money that she had paid me, and also a little bit of my own investment. So I think it was like £50-60 by the time I bought some tissue paper. If you've got another job or a part-time job, you could save some money and invest it into products and experimentation. I still had had a full-time and 2 part-time jobs at one point, and anything I made through commissions and Katnipp, I would save all of that money, all of it, and I would reinvest it back into a new product. This could look like this. It could look like machinery. So I invested in a really cheap eBay, £99, I think it was, a £70 mug press machine and sublimation printer. I couldn't actually afford a sublimation printer, so I googled a hack of how I could buy a cheap printer and convert it into a sublimation printer. And I actually bought like these needle things, and I had to buy these dodgy chips off eBay that you clicked into the printer and you injected ink and basically voided the warranty for the printer. But the printer was like 40 quid at the time or something, and I invested that money off like 3-4 commissions into like a mug press. I remember also asking for Christmas my dad if I could have this £99 A4 heat press, which was also dodgy. I'm pretty sure the plug didn't even have a fuse in it, and I literally just took all of my money and reinvested it back into equipment where I could experiment with products, and that meant I could make loads of different types of mug designs and see which ones sold or which ones worked, because I had the machines to make them myself. And then I also invested into crickets to then make my own sticker packs. And if I'm being honest, my first ever stickers, guess how I used to make them? I used to cut them out with scissors by hand. I sat in front of the TV one night once I finished my job. I sat down on the sofa and I would cut around my stickers with my scissors, and I think I made about 30 stickers for a craft fair or something I was going to, or like 150, but it was like 4 different types of stickers or something like that, 5 different types. And I sat there and I got blisters from where I cut with my scissors, and I even made a Pastel Witch sticker pack. And with that money, I then finally gave my fingers a rest and bought my first cricket and delved into doing like stickers and stuff like that. And still to this day, anything we make into Katnipp, I put back into Katnipp. So that could mean this office, it could mean my husband's wage, it could mean Mike's wage, it could mean a new investment into mouse mats, into a new machine, into new pins, into new products. Any sales we get through Katnipp, I reinvest back into Katnipp to be able to afford more fresh products for the customers who want to see more. And I've learned to diversify my income over this 9 years to the point where I have money coming in from Patreon, and Patreon still pays my wage. So a huge thank you to my ma, she's over on Patreon. I take that as like a minimum wage every month, so thank you so much. And then I also diversified on this YouTube channel, for example, with AdSense, ad revenue, and also sponsors like Skillshare really help us out, specifically if we're having a really bad sales month. So I learned to diversify. Prior to that, before I had all these different streams of revenue, it would be my full-time job and my part-time job. So they would pay my bills, and then Katnipp money would go back into Katnipp. And that's how I grew it. I never took it out and spent it on myself and bought a new bag or anything like that. I put it back into Katnipp, and it's still the case to this day. I still reinvest back into this business, and I think this is something I'll probably do for a long period of time. But slowly over time, I've built up a more diversified income stream to pay for my personal bills that allows me to reinvest in all these new products and stuff. And if you don't have like a YouTube channel, you don't want to get into like sponsors and you don't want to do all that sort of stuff, there's other ways to diversify your income. You could sell courses, or you could sell digital products which literally don't cost anything apart from the iPad or whatever you've got to hand, a computer or a phone. You could even just sell digital products. You could sell stock footage. There's just so many different things you could do. Let me know in the comments if you want me to list a few passive income ideas to diversify your portfolio and your income. I also did and worked for window companies and took photographs and did their social media. There's VAs, virtual assistants, that you can do online. You can help them source images or product ideas or social media content. That's what I did back in the beginning. I ran social media pages for 3 window companies in total at one point. And I also did logo design, branding design. There's a local tattoo parlour in Redcar where I'm from, and they still use the logo that I designed for them back when I was starting out. But I do think it is good to diversify your income. A good example of this actually would be the likes of my biggest inspirations like Beatrix Potter and Walt Disney. They licensed their characters businesses. They had a diversified income. Look at Disney, for example. I know they're not to everyone's taste. I personally find Walt Disney and his story very inspirational. They didn't just have the Disney films. They had licensing, they had merchandise. He did cartoons, he did films, he did documentaries, he did nature documentaries. He diversified his whole product range. He didn't just rely on one single thing ever. He didn't just go, I'm going to do classic cartoons and that's it. Nothing else. He did all sorts of different things. And it's the same with Beatrix Potter. She was the pioneer and the inspiration behind merchandising cute animals. She literally transformed merchandise. She sold Peter Rabbit in different things, and she started out as a children's book illustrator, and she really paved the way. So she's also had a different stream of revenue. She wasn't just an illustrator. I have been filming for a very long time. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to check out our website, it is katnipp.com, and I do hope you enjoy our products. I feel like I'm just getting started on the small business journey, but I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into small business and when I got started, and answers some of your questions. Let me know if you want to see more of these type of informational videos and what I've learned along the way. I hope you stick around. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it actually does help, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright then, thanks so much for watching. I love you.